MZTV.
Everybody wants to look good in the short term. Everybody wants to look good now. Everybody wants to look good today. Everybody wants to outdo the competition. Pick your category: spirituality, athletics, life, your job. But the key in the scriptures, and the most important thing, and I think one of the most neglected fruit of the Spirit, not that we can personally work on it, but I'm going to tell you how to work on it, is patience. And I'm really not talking about surface patience. I'm not talking about necessarily like being happy with the red light that goes on and on and on and on. I'm not necessarily talking about that. I'm talking about patience to endure the eon. You might say, well, those two things are related. If you're not patient at the red light, then you're not patient to endure the eon. You may say I'm just saying this to justify myself, but I disagree. I always compare it to the ocean. I compare myself to the ocean in this way. The surface of the ocean may be crashy, may be wavy, may be sprayy, but underneath the ocean, it's dark, it's quiet, it's firm. This, I guess, could also describe the difference between happiness and joy. I don't necessarily call myself happy. Don't worry, be happy. Give me a break. I say that to some people as a joke. So, happiness is a surface thing. Joy is the bedrock. It's that anchor down deep that holds you. This is the kind of endurance I'm talking about. So today, and maybe tomorrow, I want to talk to you about endurance. I'm going to use practical examples, but I'm also going to apply it, because this is why we're here, to our spiritual walk, our walk with Christ. Because many times, and this is going to be practical information for you. Otherwise, why would I say this? Even spiritual truths, the truths of the justification, of the conciliation of the world, of the salvation of all. These aren't just theological truths. These things work in our lives. They affect the way we act toward others, the way we think of ourselves, our mood, at all. It's all interrelated. I never divorce spiritual truth from how I live. This stuff is real, or affects how you live. So what I'm going to tell you will work practically in your life. And it's about not performing, not looking to have the temporal advantage, the looking good for a little while. It's looking good in the long term. And it ain't sexy. It's not admired in the world, because the world is fast. The world is into instant gratification. I'm not accepting the spiritual world here, because in the Christian world, the fake Jesus world, they're posing and they're preening. And this is why they're engaged in ceremonies. And this is why they're executing great feats of asceticism and what they call self-control. But they're doing things on the surface. There's a difference. I'm going to go to Colossians. But listen to this. There's a difference between people who do things on the surface and people who are settled underneath. I think of King David. Perfect example. This guy on the surface appeared chaotic. He was impulsive. Exhibit A, Bathsheba. The guy was impulsive. And Exhibit B, dancing when the ark is returning to Jerusalem from them nasty Philistines. Okay? But God called David, this shocks many people, a man after my own heart. How is that? A man after my own heart. Because of the bedrock. Because of that endurance under there. And David, this is the key. David was not disturbed by his surface disturbances. I can speak to this. I have many surface disturbances. I maybe react quickly or harshly to some things on the surface, and that would seem to indicate to many people that, well, Zender's a mess. No, Zender is solid as a rock underneath. My surface might be a mess. And the key is for you not to be disturbed by that. God wasn't disturbed when he saw David being so raucous and apparently unsettled on the surface of his being, but underneath he had a heart for God. And underneath he knew that he knew what was true, and he knew his God, and God knew him. And so he could even look at himself and not be bothered by it. Paul says, I don't let anyone judge me. And he says, I don't even judge myself. That's beautiful. I'm going to put the reference down here. Paul says, I don't even judge myself. He says, I'm not aware that there's anything wacky wrong with me. That's a Zender paraphrase. But he says, this doesn't justify me. Just because I can't think of anything that I might be really screwed up in doesn't mean I'm not screwed up. I'm just saying that I'm saving it for the day. I'm saving it for when I appear before Christ at the dais. God will sort it out then. In the meantime, I am what I am by the grace of God. We always think of that as I am what I am by the grace of God, speaking of all the good things you are. Like you kind of grab your lapel and you say, I am what I am by the grace of God. How about this? I am what I am imperfectly, also by the grace of God. I am what I am. What you see is what you get, emphasizing at this time maybe some negative traits, mine, yours, whatever. You are that also by the grace of God. Because the grace of God is also working to keep you humble. Oh, yes, it is. And that's necessary. I'm going to go to Colossians 2. I'm not sure whether to go to Colossians 2 first or give you practical examples of this. Well, let me give you the phrase. Let me give you the key phrase, and then I'll give you some examples. Drawing upon my own life, because I'm the person I know the best. I don't know every detail of your life. I don't know what you've been through. I know what I've been through, and I've been through some things that have really stuck with me, like, wow, that's helpful. Wow. That has helped me in life, what I went through. And now I'm going to use it to help you. There's a beautiful phrase. You've heard me say it many times. Don't know if I've ever given the reference. It's in Colossians 2. And talks about people in verse 18 who are interested in looking humble, who are interested in rituals. I mean, this describes Christianity. Who parade, they're paraders. And these people who are doing these kinds of things, according to Paul, are not holding the head. They're not holding the head. What are they doing? It's almost like they're holding themselves. Rather than looking to the head, Christ, they're constantly looking in the mirror, and they're performance oriented. But this is what we ought to do, looking to the head, out of whom the entire body. This is why we all think alike. This is why when we get together, it's like we've known each other our entire lives. If you've never been to a conference, this is what happens all the time. Because we have a common head. Not holding the head, out of whom the entire body being supplied and united through the assimilation and ligaments. I need to do a whole show on assimilation and ligaments. Not a sexy title. What did Martin talk about today? Assimilation and ligaments. Well, that sounds exciting. It's great things going on there. Sounds so anatomical. It is, because Paul uses the human body as an example, as a perfect metaphor to the body of Christ. Being supplied, here goes the voice again, and united through the assimilation and ligaments, the body of Christ is, quote, growing in the growth of God. There it is. That's the phrase I'm interested in today, probably tomorrow. Growing in the growth of God. This is holding the head. When I see a phrase like the growth of God, what I think of is speed. I think of, I would like a growth spurt. I would love for my growth to be instantly seen and appreciated by one and all. But I'm growing in the growth of God. God's timing is not my timing. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that God is a little slow? Like a freaking glacier, okay? God makes glaciers look like contestants in the Kentucky Derby. God is very patient. He's methodical. Did you ever get upset about how slow the human body heals? You get a cut on your finger. 2 weeks, the thing's like, it just takes so long. You get mad at your body. It's like your body's saying, hey, I'm taking my time. What's your problem? I wish you'd hurry. No. I'm healing in the growth of God. Think of that. Whenever you're injured or whenever you had a surgery, you expect to come out of there and be fine right away. It's so freaking long to recover from anything. That's a physical metaphor. It's also true in the spirit. You have rare exceptions. I know we have these flash points sometimes, like Saul on the road to Damascus. Boom. But that was the flash point, but he developed slowly, surely, growing in the grace of God. You can either be dynamite or a dynamo. Think of this. Dynamite, instant explosion, flash, noise. Everybody wants to be dynamite, but there's a dynamo. Same root word there. Dyna. I think I went to high school with a Dyna, didn't I? Yeah, okay, wow. Oh, I got to tell you about high school too, but I think that it means energy. So the dynamo is a constant churning. The dynamo, it just keeps something going. Dynamite, everybody loves the dynamite. Let's go watch the dynamite explode. It's fun to watch. You watch them detonate dynamite in buildings that they want to tear down, and the buildings implode. Very exciting. You like to see that. I would rather see the building, be constructed in the case of spiritual walk. But my point is, people like explosions, light, and noise. But the dynamo is slow. Nobody sits around looking at a dynamo. It's constant running, constant energy. I would like to know how many guys in high school that I went to high school with are still running, are still fit. I would like to know. Because, you see, when I was in high school, there were the jocks, and they were all that. And all the girls just fawned over them because, why? They were football stars. They were track and field stars. They were baseball stars. They were basketball stars. For some reason, I never felt the urge to join anything. I'm a loner when it comes to that. So these guys would be getting all this adulation, the crowds, especially the football guys, and I would just be like jogging on my own. I was fast. You know what they said about me in football? This is, I played grade school football, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And I could run fast, but they used to say, how can a kid so fat run so fast? Yeah, that's right. I had a little pot belly when I was a kid. It was cute, I think, but I could run fast, but I was fat. I don't know, but I would, for some reason, God put this dynamo in me rather than dynamite. I have dynamo rather than dynamite. I want this same thing for you. I have a feeling that all these superstars from my high school are all fat. I just have this feeling. I would love to see them all. But Zender with the Dynamo, the pacer, is still at it 40 years later. Because I wasn't interested in the adulation or the fans or the crowds or the girl. Well, I forget. Well, okay. But I wanted to last. I don't know why. I just had this in me. And then when God called me, I had the same thing. I just want to last. I don't want to be a flash in the pan. I don't want to be a one-hit wonder. I want to go the distance. Every time I got spiritually wrecked in my past with this job, I would watch Field of Dreams. Great movie. And I remember this one part where the voice, after the voice says, build it and he will come, the voice says, go the distance. Oh my God, I got chills whenever I heard that. Go the distance. I'm in this. You're in this for the long haul, the distance. This is the kind of endurance I'm interested in. Again, it's not exciting. It's not sexy. It's not something people load into the grandstands to watch. My junior year in high school, the track and field did this event called, I'm going to end with this great example, I think. The track and field team did this thing called a 24-hour relay. 24-hour relay. It's an insane event. What you do is you get 10 people, track and field people, and you go to the football stadium, and each person runs a mile, 4 laps around a quarter-mile track with a baton. When the first man has run his 4 laps, he hands the baton to the next guy who's waiting at the start line, and he runs a mile. And guess what happens next? That guy passes the baton to the third guy. And then guess what happens? You do this for 24 hours. And you see how many miles you get at the end. Of course, it goes through the night. So after you run your mile, let's say by this time it's 1 a.m., you run your mile, pass the baton, you get in your sleeping bag in the infield, you collapse and you sleep, or try to, and then somebody nudges you awake 40 minutes later. Hey, you're up. It's your turn. So you get up there, grab the baton. All right. Yeah, sounds like fun, right? Well, here's the thing. I'll never forget it. When the 24-hour relay race starts, it's not really a race. You're competing against other schools nationwide. We were actually listed in a national magazine. I believe it was Runner's World, because we were one of the top. We were in the top 50. There's something I need to tell you here that I didn't mention, and I realized that when I started editing this video, is that I was recruited for this because I was not on the track and field team. Like I said, the only organized sports I was ever in was that grade school football, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. But in high school, I never joined anything. But they were looking for somebody to complete the team. And one of my friends told the guys that there's this, Zender. Yeah, Zender. Well, he runs on his own. He's plodding around the streets of Canton. And I think he's like running 10, 15 miles. Anyway, I think we should ask this guy if he will join us. See, I was an independent, but word got around that there's this kid that just keeps going and going and going and going. So they asked me to join up. I was the only person on that squad that was not on the track and field team. And guess what happened next? So at the beginning, these stupid track and field stars, because everybody was watching, it was the beginning, there was a band out there, and the girls were all cheering, hoo, hoo, and these guys were running 6-minute miles. These morons were running 6-minute miles. Because everybody's watching them and they're showing off. Is this a tortoise and the hare thing, okay? Yeah, they're showing off. Of course, I think we started at maybe 6, maybe 5 p.m., 6 p.m. But guess what happened? There's about 3 or 4 of these guys. They were stars, and they're showing off. Guess what happened? They all quit one at a time. They all quit. Why? Because they started running 6-minute miles, and they tired out, and they couldn't go the distance. And so, what happens to the rest of us? We have to run more frequently. Suddenly, our field goes from 10 to 6. And so the 6 guys, because the morons that went out like jackrabbits burned out. There you have it. I was one of the smart guys, like I started doing with 8-minute miles. This is what I did. I started slow and I tapered off. That's my recommendation to you in any athletic endeavor, whether you're bicycling or you're running or you're doing whatever that you do today. These things on television, whatever you do. I don't do any of that stuff because I hate group stuff. I go out there solo. Let's go out there in the dark in the night, do my thing. Okay, so you start slow and then taper off. People say, what's your pace, Martin? Well, I start slow, yeah, and then I taper off. What? They're so disappointed. And yet, who is still going? Who's the ever ready bunny? Who's the ever ready bunny? You're looking at the ever ready bunny. And so, yeah. Now it's every 20 minutes somebody's nudging you in the infield. Your turn. What the hell? We did 239 miles in 24 hours. So that's what? 10 miles an hour. We were listed in a national magazine. We were enshrined for the eons. No thanks to the jackrabbits that went out to impress the girls and to look good at the beginning when everyone's watching. How do you perform when no one's watching? How do you perform at 2 a.m. when nobody's watching? When even the coach is asleep? How do you perform then? I'm taking this spiritually. How do you live when nobody's watching? How do you live when the minutes turn to hours and it's dark and it's lonely? Unless you have that dynamo in you, you're going to be constantly disappointed in yourself, because the Christian walk today is flash and then burn, flash and then burn, flash and then die, flash and die, flash and die. It's this terrible up and down thing. Oh, they look good on Monday, Tuesday, they don't look very good. Why? Because they're relying on dynamite instead of a dynamo. It doesn't look good, but it's growth in the growth of God. I'm going to elaborate on this because I love this topic. It's about pacing. It's about pacing. It's about maturity, really. I'm talking about a mature walk in Christ. And I'm talking about a walk that is pleasing to God and not to human beings. Ooh, I love that topic.